Greetings everybody, Brother Dan Goodwin here. This is the God's Final Jubilee Ministries. You can find us at godsfinaljubilee.com. You can find us on Facebook, God's Final Jubilee Facebook. And we want to welcome you tonight. We're going to talk about an important subject and an important news item going on. This is the 23rd, early in the morning as I record this, October the 23rd, Tuesday. And came across a news story yesterday, the 22nd, that's kind of been hidden a little bit. Not a lot of people talking about it in light of all the caravan headed to the U.S. border and all the crazy stuff going on. But let me share the story. This is about Mr. John Bolton, who happens to be the United States National Security Advisor. The story says that John Bolton is in Moscow for talks after Russia gave a frosty reception to the news that the United States was dropping a nuclear treaty. Did you know that? Did you know that we are ending one of the nuclear treaties we have with Russia? Wonder what that's about, huh? By the way, Russia, right there on the back door of Israel, right there in Syria. You've got Iran, who is right there in Syria. You've got the United States there. You've got all kinds of different factions and rebels. This thing is heating up. It's all right there in the Middle East, right where the Bible says that it's going to be. Isn't that something? And just amazing stuff. So the story goes here that President Donald Trump said Russia had violated the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces, or the INF Treaty, and the United States planned to withdraw as a result of it. The treaty, signed in 1987, restricted United States and Russian short and medium-range nuclear missiles. Mr. Bolton is reported to have been a key voice pushing for the withdrawal. He is due to meet senior officials during his pre-planned visit, but may now meet President Vladimir Putin also. Moscow has said abandoning the treaty would be dangerous and warned it would be forced to take retaliatory action. What did the treaty do? The INF Treaty was signed by U.S. President Ronald Reagan and Mikhail Gorbachev, the last Soviet leader in the last years of the Cold War. It banned ground-launched medium-range missiles, blah, 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 a whole bunch there. Let's see. How is Russia suspected of breaking the treaty? The announcement followed reports in the Guardian newspaper that Mr. Bolton, in his capacity as National Security Advisor, has recommended withdrawal from the treaty. And let's see. Mr. Putin is seeking answers, according to a Kremlin spokesman. Mr. Bolton will now face meetings with Foreign Minister so-and-so here. And so, to make a long story short, there's a controversy going on between the United States and Russia concerning these intermediate and short-range missiles, nuclear missiles. And so Mr. Trump has said that he's going to back out of it because Russia's not keeping the treaty. Just like the trade deals were bad for the United States, it looks like this treaty here is benefiting only Russia. And so Mr. Trump says he's getting out of it. Now I bring this up for this reason. Of course, it's a story about nuclear war, and it's kind of in the background. It's not made headline news. But it's an important story. It just so happens my brand new book that's just out, just went on the website 24 hours ago, I think. The 7 clocks ticking. 7 clocks are ticking towards Christ's soon return. Let me put that up for you here. It just so happens in this book I have a chapter about what we just read about. I have a chapter in here called, and I'll go ahead and show you the picture. By the way, the book has over 25 color images in it. The chapter here is called The Ticking Nuclear Clock. And this is probably, without a doubt, the most frightening chapter in the entire book. And boy, did I dig up some interesting things about warfare. I'm going to read a little bit of this to you. But the story and what's going on in the world got me realizing how up to date my brand new book is here, because the nuclear clock is ticking, and it's ticking towards midnight, and it's 5 minutes to midnight, and this is just one of the 7 clocks in the book, and but this is a chilling thing. Let me read you a little bit about that's in the book here. War broke out on the earth as soon as Adam took his first bite of the forbidden fruit. The first deadly weapon was a simple rock in the hand of Cain as he took the life of his own brother. Since that time, the weapons of war have increased in number, in violence, and in effect. The final war upon the earth is going to be cataclysmic. It is described in the scriptures as so horrific that if God doesn't intervene, the entire world will perish. Now, you and I know that that's not going to happen, but it doesn't happen because God intervenes, and He steps in and keeps the world from destroying itself. Mark 13:20 says, "Except the Lord had shortened those days, no flesh should be saved." It is very plain in Scripture that the final generation upon the earth before the Lord returns has the potential to destroy all of mankind. I believe that day is here, right now. And it is only by the grace of God that we have not already destroyed ourselves. For this reason, I believe nuclear war is a ticking clock that is mere minutes away from striking midnight. You know, the truth is, it's a miracle that nobody has attacked somebody with a nuclear bomb as of yet. Did you know America is the only ones that have used nuclear weapons in war? And I talk about that in the book, and I give some reasons why it was necessary. And the fact that most people believe that lives were saved by the dropping of the bombs in Japan. By the way, they started with what we call now napalm. It wasn't then, but America dropped napalm on Tokyo. I mean, fire was everywhere. And Japan still wouldn't get out, surrender and end the war. So we dropped the first bomb, and then we dropped the second bomb, and finally, after the second bomb, Japan went to its knees and ended the war. So crazy stuff, huh? The study of history is the study of war. We began with a war against God in the Garden of Eden, and we will end with a final war against Christ at Armageddon. You will have a hard time looking back in history to find a time of world peace. It seems like war is in our nature, and we simply must have it. And here's a Prussian proverb that I have in the book. Not a Russian, but a Prussian proverb. In case of rain, the war will be held in the auditorium. You ever heard that? In other words, no matter what, we will have our war. So, for the first time ever in our generation, the world has the capability to destroy itself. Never in prior history has that been possible. And I'm just skimming here, reading a few things. The atomic age, also known as the atomic era, is the period of history following the detonation of the first nuclear bomb, July 16th, 1945, World War II. And the nuclear age, that's the age we live in right now. So for about 5,000 years of human history, very little changed concerning warfare. Swords, spears, bows, clubs were the weaponry to choose from. Yet it was approximately 1000 AD when gunpowder was first used in warfare. This changed how man would practice war. So 1000 AD approximately, war began to change, or warfare began to change. This changed how man would practice war. Portable cannons were first introduced in 1450 AD by the French, who also invented the flintlock rifle in 1600. In the 1850s, the breech-loading rifle was introduced. In the 1900s, the machine gun was first used in warfare. In 1905, the Germans invented the first submarine called a U-boat. In 1915, just a few years after the Wright brothers, let me see what's going on with my screen here. Let's see. There we go. All right, so in 1915, just after the Wright brothers, the Germans introduced the first fighter planes with workable machine guns. So warfare evolved. After 5,900 years of human history, 1900 AD, warfare had evolved from primitive swords and spears to firing projectiles from airplanes and submersible boats. But the world had not seen anything yet. Man was just getting started in his quest to wage war and annihilate cities and kingdoms. And we enter the atomic age, or the nuclear age. In the late 30s, the race was on between Germany and the United States to be the first to build a nuclear bomb. On June 7th, 1942, a physicist named Robert Oppenheimer was appointed director of the highly secretive Manhattan Project to develop a nuclear weapon for the United States. And this began because in early 1939 the world scientific community discovered that German physicists had learned the secrets of splitting the uranium atom. Now, by the way, this is from an article that's in the book, a stunning article about the Manhattan Project. There's stuff in here you've never heard before. There's stuff in here about a Russian spy. Russian collusion goes all the way back here. And the secrecy and United States government keeping secrets from its own people all happened a long time ago. 1939. And Albert Einstein and others convinced America to get involved in the bomb-making business, and which we did. And boy, what an amazing story you're going to read here about the atom bomb, the first atom bomb, and the test that they had. It talks about a blinding flash visible for 200 miles when they tested the atom bomb. A mushroom cloud reached 40,000 feet. It shocked everybody. They didn't know what it was going to do. It was the first atom bomb ever to be exploded upon the earth, and it shocked them. This is all in the book. If that was not bad enough, and I'm skipping a lot of this, but they dropped the 2 atom bombs. Of course, they tested it first. And by the way, they lied to the American people. And they talked about the explosion. They said a munitions dump exploded. And they lied to the American people. And they're still lying to the American people. You've heard of the deep state, right? As if the atom bomb was not enough, the hydrogen bomb was introduced just 7 years later, 1952. It was successfully tested by the United States in the Marshall Islands. It is 1,000 times more powerful than the bomb dropped in Japan. 1,000 times more powerful. Now that was 1952. That's huge. Can you imagine 1,000 times more powerful bomb than the one dropped in Hiroshima? Now, it's hard to comprehend what that would do. But then think of this, my friend. That was 1952. That was near 70 years ago. What do you suppose we have in our arsenals today? What do you suppose our weapons are today? How powerful are our weapons today? Our nuclear bombs and whatever other stuff. I've read that we have bombs, we have weapons that have not even been tested because the government is afraid to test them because they don't know what they'll do. All that to say this chapter, stunning chapter. I talk about ICBMs. I tell you who has nuclear missiles, how many countries have them, the approximate number that they think, but nobody knows. But so a lot about the nuclear explosion. Now, we know that nuclear war is coming in the end time. The thing is, it's the ticking clock is here now. We are the generation that has it. We are the generation that could destroy the whole world in a matter of minutes. Israel could be wiped off the earth in 5 minutes. One bomb. Unbelievable. This is all in the new book, 7 Clocks Are Ticking. The nuclear ticking clock. Stunning things in here, frightening things that you need to know about and where we are today. By the way, I have an article in here, I think 2 articles, about the recent war games between Russia and China. Unbelievable masses of tanks and weaponry and men in this war game that they just had. What are they preparing for? They're preparing to destroy Israel. And now we know what the war that is. We know what's coming with that. So, you know, the end, if you can see that, the end is just ahead. The nuclear clock is ticking. Get ready, my friend. The Lord is getting ready to come back, because we know that we're going to be taken out of here before this final event takes place. There's a ticking clock, and it's 5 minutes to midnight, and you better be ready, my friend. You better be ready for the rapture. This is the God's Final Jubilee program. I'm your host, Evangelist Dan Goodwin. You can find us at godsfinaljubilee.com. You can find the brand new book on the website, godsfinaljubilee.com. It'll be on Amazon soon, if it's not already, as well as a Kindle ebook for your enjoyment. And so we'll see you next time.